Hello, Glue Troopers, and welcome to the TARDIS. I have my brother on the phone. We were talking about models earlier, and hopefully he'll be able to pick up what he's saying here. I'll position it fairly close to the microphone. First off, first start of business, the name of the town in Kansas where those models came from, you said it's Olathe?
Olathe.
Olathe. Sorry, I apologize for mispronouncing that. And my brother called to tell me that because why?
Because my wonderful wife went to college there at Mid-America Nazarene College in Olathe, Kansas.
Okay.
For 4 years.
So, my brother and I were talking about something earlier, and I just went out and watched the Salem's Lot thing you were talking about. I'm calling it Aurora to the Rescue, and I think you were right. In 1979, James Mason and David Soul were in a made-for-TV movie called Salem's Lot about a bunch of vampires. Well, probably the most famous scene, because when I typed it into to YouTube, I got like a gazillion hits, is Salem's Lot, Vampire in the Window. And it's a pretty creepy scene. You know, this kid has all these monster posters in his room and monster models, and I think they're Aurora kits. And you guys go watch it, but basically he's got like a diorama which looks like it's made out of the Aurora figures, and he snatches a cross up off the diorama, which I don't think was an original part of the diorama, but anyway, he uses it to shoo away the vampire. But I was like, hey, Aurora to the rescue. You see, you never know when kit models will save a life. So also, we were chatting earlier, and here's just the weirdest thing. I came into the TARDIS today, and I was getting to work on the Waddell Williams. Finally got a little bit of work done. It's a beautiful engine. It's got all the separate cylinders and pistons, which makes it easy to pre-paint them, so it has a very nice engine when you're done. So I'm taking my time. So while I'm going slow on that kit, I just decided to open up the two Knight Rider models, which apparently the body styles are a little bit different. One of the viewers was telling me about that. And well, one thing led to another. The next thing I know was building them. There were a couple of parts missing from the older one, so I robbed them out of the new one. And but they're kind of important. Like one of them's where one of the wheels goes on, but they're nothing I can't fabricate. So and yes, everybody, I had the same thought just about everybody else did. I am going to make kit and car. I'm using the older kit to make kit and the newer kit to make car. But the funny part is I went to take a break, went inside to have dinner. My wife and I were watching Young Sheldon, and sure enough, who's the guest star but the Hoff, David Hasselhoff, and he even shows a Knight Rider car on his desk. And I thought, well, that's the Great Styrene River. But anyway, you were saying CAR stood for Knight, was it Autonomous Roving Robot?
Knight Automated Roving Robot, I believe.
Yeah, and KIT was the Knight Industries 2000 or 3000.
Right.
So, something we've been talking about earlier, and my brother made a great point, was that a lot of you guys really enjoyed the Dodge Polara video, which was dedicated to my grandmother, which is why that build was so important to me. And by the way, thanks for all the kind words. But my brother hit on something, and it's that every adult had a childhood. And for a lot of us, models were a big part of that childhood. And that's why this is all still so important to us today. And on top of being fun, and especially in current times, it's given us something to do. Another news article popped up about how Revell model, the new Revell, is doing so well because of the COVID. Everybody's hunkered down building models, which, take your wins where you can find them. Maybe the entire Revell catalog, or most of it, seems to be the late 90s and early 70s monogram kits. My Revell P51 even has monogram 1997 stamped under the stabilizer. And my brother, tell him what you are.
I'm sorry, what?
Tell him what you are about monogram.
Oh, well, I mean, to me, monogram was number one.
I believe your exact phrase was, dyed in the wool monogram, man, monogram till I die.
Yeah, from bottom to top is Limberline, Aurora, Revell, monogram, and then the adult kits that were too complex for us, like Tamiya and Hasegawa.
Too expensive.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I saw, maybe it was a misprice, but I was in the hobby shop the other day and I saw a 1/72nd scale Hasegawa kit of, I think it was KI-43, I think it's the Hayabusa. They wanted like $42. I was shy. I took a picture, but I can't find it. I might have deleted it. But I was like, is that a misprice, or is Hasegawa really charging that much for a 1/72nd scale single engine fighter? And that's kind of, to be honest, kind of worrisome. I mean, maybe it's got metal etch parts and stuff in it. One thing about this Knight Rider kits is the older kit didn't have decals, but as the Fates would have it, and of course the great Styrene River provides, for some reason, the kit, the other, when I say kit, I'm talking about model kit, but the other kit of kit, there's 2 decals. I mean, it's one sheet, but it's got 2 of every decal. And except for the number 3 decal, which goes on the panel, you only need 1 of each. So I'm not sure why they did that. If maybe they needed 2 of one decal and said, hey, look, it's just going to be, the printer made a mistake and just made 2 of everything, or what. But hey, you know, it's going to make it easier for me to finish out the models. So anyway, I just thought it'd be nice to do something different. What?
Let me interject on monograms, which are most of what I built were monograms. I don't know if you've regaled your YouTube viewers with the demise of my 1/48 scale B-17 monogram circa 1978.
I remember I had one. That was a big airplane. What happened to it?
Yeah, well, yeah, I built a 1/48 scale monogram B-17 in about 78. It was the first build I ever had that actually had a booklet of instructions.
Yeah, I was kid of the year.
Fold out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you remember you and your friends decided to start running a clothesline and putting a hook in it?
Oh, is that what happened? Yeah. The Lydecker stuff. We were I wish I still had that 8mm footage. We were running clotheslines. We had had a kind of an Alpine-looking pool house. I had 2 stories. We were putting the wires up on the upper story and sliding the airplanes like a slide for life. And I think we took some 8mm footage of it, but it's lost to the ages.
You skewered my B-17 like it was a vampire.
It was all on the high altar of teenage entertainment. You know, as you are so fond of saying, it was a price I was willing to pay.
Yeah. Well, that was the end of my B-17, which I was extremely proud of building because I had actually managed to paint all of the framework in the ball turret.
Mm-hmm.
And it came out pretty well, actually. I think I wound up the bombardier's, the glass front part, I think, got a little frost on it somehow. But by and large, it was a pretty good build. Of course, I never painted them back then. You know, that's what, to me, molded and colored them.
Yeah. Well, we never had the money to barely afford the kit. We usually had to get the glue from the store, from our dad's store. At the store.
And by the way, that Mosquito you have, that 1/48 scale Mosquito you have is mine.
I know.
And
so is the AT F-105G.
And yeah, well, the Mosquito, I think I told you there's a story about the bottom of it. The reason there's so much paint on the bottom is I entered that in a model contest in 1978. I didn't win, but it was decent, I guess, for the time I was about 14.
Folks, you have to remember, he's 14. He had like no money for paint.
I ran out of gray paint, so I was mixing black paint and white paint, but I was never mixing enough of it to do the whole bottom, and I kept having to remix it to get the shade right. And plus, I was watching this old movie about the cavalry at the same time I was building the thing, and it wound up with about 4 or 5 layers of paint on it.
So what you're saying is you had 50 Shades of Gray.
No comment. But and of course that was before I never really knew how to apply camouflage. So I didn't know about like tearing off, paper and using it as a shield to get that feathered look. So I just, taped it off and painted it and everything.
Well, Norman, a friend of ours, Norman, made
excellent models.
Yeah, and Norman had all these tricks, and he didn't have any expensive tools, but he did beautiful builds. And, of course, he was extremely patient. But I have, I can pretty much afford any tool I want. But I still build like I'm 16 years old with just tape and putty and stuff. And I never really get that crisp, clean look. I always have issues, but that's just part of building. And but you did a good job with what you had. The main thing was you had a good time. That was really important.
Yeah. I remember one time, I think you and I were down there in the basement building I swear I was building a B-17 and you were building a Wellington or a Lancaster.
No, I've never built either one of those. Actually, somebody sent me some Handley Page Halifaxes. We got about 3 of them I want to get to, but of course I want to get to all the things here. But no, I don't recall building a Wellington or a Lancaster, but our memories fade. What I remember is the one that cracks me up, and I even mentioned this on the outro, I think, of the MPC video, a history video I did, was you and me up till about 3 in the morning, back when TV stations used to go off the air about 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning. They kept looping the Batman movie with Adam West while we were building my birthday models, and I got a couple of those weird AMT or MPC ice cream tricycles. And we ran out of television, glue, and paint all at the same time.
By the way, where's my turbines?
Actually, it's right over here in the case.
Okay. So where's my phaser?
That's in the house on display in our bedroom.
All right.
He has when he was based in the Air Force in California. When he was based in the Air Force in California at Mather Air Force Base, Norton Air Force Base. I'm sorry. They got this beautiful resin Star Trek phaser that's like hero quality. None of it works, but it's like hero quality looks. And I've been storing it for you until whenever.
That thing cost me about $95 in 1991.
And it was worth every penny. I've enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah, I also saw my Star Lifter up there.
Yep, I got both your Star Lifters. Well, wait a minute. No. Yeah, I got the big white one you got in the Philippines. I've got your AT-AT. I've got your Tirpitz, the Hustler, the B-58. Yeah, I've got the kit you built, the 105G and the Mossy. I've cleaned them up and repainted them a little bit just to touch up some damage and stuff. Because we all know how well plastic models weather the years.
Yeah. Do you still have that 148 scale Huey monogram?
Okay, I had one I did a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago, that it's a repop. I don't have the Huey Hog that you built.
Okay.
I've got basically the same helicopter, but it's the Medevac. It was a repop of the Medevac, but my God, I don't know. I mean, I'm like 90% done with it, and I must have just pressed something or pushed on it, and I snapped the landing gear off of it. Like, great. So I glued it back on, but of course it's permanently lopsided now, so it's hidden in the back of my shelf over here.
Well, now that Interceptor from UFO, I bought you that years ago.
That's one of my prize kits. That's up on the top shelf of my science fiction shelf in the house. But it's with the AT-AT and the X-Wing and the Y-Wing and the Firefly, which was a Franklin Mint thing. But yeah, that's one of my treasured kits. You know, those things they're $100 or more on eBay now.
Did I get you a trumpet kit of like a 2-seat MiG-15 or something?
Yeah, it's the FT5, the Chinese copy of the 2-seat MiG-17, and that's also on display in the house. I actually did a build video on that years ago.
Landing gear on it or something?
Yeah, what happened was the landing gear on it. The whole kit had a bunch of extra parts, so you could make like 4 different versions of the airplane. It's like Trumpeter was just dumping every MiG part they had in a box. And the landing gear on it, they use a really weird plastic. And the landing gear on it just two of them were okay, but one of the main gears, now partly because I put some lead in it to hold the nose down, but one of the main gears, it was like, glue softens, but it never hardened again. But I didn't use that much glue. I don't know if it was I was using acrylic paint, so I don't think the paint reacted with it. There was just something about that plastic. It just won't bond. So I put it up on a stand with the gears down. And, not a great kit. If you see the Trumpeter FT5, it's got a plastic that's almost kind of like a vinyl or a rubber. Sometimes you can squeak, but you know what? It was it looks good up on the stand though, and I got a build video out there of it.
I got you that retro, the 172nd F-15, that what we used to build as kids.
Yeah.
A model.
Yeah, that's right there. Yep, there it is. I'm gonna take pictures of all these so when I make the video tonight, I can superimpose, put them up there. That's actually a good little kit.
And what we wanted to talk about Major Matt Mason, but
he's right there. He's right there.
And that hat is mine.
I know.
That's a 1983 build, but I think the rubber band and it broke one time.
Yeah, well, they made the head bobble up and down. Which, by the way, I tried to send your models back to you a couple of times. You're telling me you had no place to put them.
Yeah, well, I may get them from you next time I'm there. But that 141 takes up a lot of real estate. I had the B-58 in my office for a while, but I had to finally trim the clip
he
off.
He got the pitot tube off because I had a point. A metal spike stick. He's afraid somebody was going to... That thing could have been used as a weapon.
Yeah, I know. That thing was dangerous sitting on the edge of my desk.
Those are the ones that were made in the Philippines. They're mahogany. And you guys have seen the B-58 because it's up on top of my desk right now, where I have my computer hutch, and by the Saturn V and the Snark.
Well, about the most fun, one of the most fun things we had to build on models was going up and showing our parents, look, no glue smears.
You go to your parents, especially your dad, because mom's going to love anything you did, but dad could be a little more critical because he was a pilot, and you were so proud that you made him. There were no thumbprints or glue smears.
Get back in the basement until you get it right.
All right.
We had great parents.
We did. We truly did. And our dad had been a model builder in his youth, which helped a lot. Back when, the model builder, you got a box of sticks and some plans.
Oh, gosh. Remember the stuff we found at Grandma's? Dad's?
I was just thinking about that.
Those planes. You know what, they would be worth today, but what did we do? We taped them up on the wall.
I may have mentioned this, but in the, I guess it would have been the mid-'70s, late 70s, we were told never go up in Grandma's attic. There's... And it's because they had this rickety old ladder. But eventually we went up there and we found a bunch of our dad's old models and stuff, and God knows what happened. But then we went down in the basement, and we found where in the 40s, during World War II, our dad as a kid had taped up these posters of B-17s and things. These were mid-40s vintage posters, and we were real careful, real delicate. We took them home. What did we do? We taped them up in our room, and of course eventually lost track of them. Yeah, those would have been worth something today.
And he had that partially, it was not complete, I think it was called Sister Metallica.
We found this airplane that it had two metal shell halves, so the fuselage and some plans, and there weren't the wings and everything weren't there, and a few bits and bobs and what looked like a part of an old engine that we couldn't figure out. But there was a picture of it, and it was one of those early weird parasol wing free flight aircraft, and he had to put an engine on it. But I was surprised that something that heavy would fly, because it was literally two metal shell halves, and I think it was about yay so big. Man, we thought we were like miners that had just found gold.
It was like built like it was a real airplane shrunk down. I mean, that thing was solid.
Yeah. But oh Lord, good times, man.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I'm gonna hang on the line. I think we've about wore out the people's interest in our childhood. I'm gonna sign off to them, and then you and I can continue this and talk about the things we don't dare put on the air. Guys, thanks for tuning in, and model on.